Hello Year 7 and welcome back to our next lesson where we are looking at algorithms, and we looked last time at the algorithm of something a human might do, making a jam sandwich. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the first steps towards an algorithm that a computer might follow. We're still going to do a human activity. So in front of you you have a picture of a coin, and we can play a game of heads or tails. So for those of you who don't know, heads or tails is where we have a coin, we'll ask someone to guess whether it's going to land on heads or tails. We flip the coin and we see whether it lands on heads or tails. Were they right or not? It's as simple as that. Now, if we start to think now about an algorithm for that, it's a set of instructions. I've just given you a set of instructions of how to play heads or tails. So an algorithm for flipping a coin is something we can definitely make. So if we did it as a person, we are going to do something like this. Put the coin on your thumb, flip the coin in the air, catch the coin, read which side of the coin is showing. And most of us would know that set of instructions already. But a computer doesn't have a thumb or a coin to flip in the air, and it can't read what it's showing. So we're going to have to do something a bit different for a computer, aren't we? Instead, think back to our previous lesson where I talked about inputs, algorithms, outputs, so the process that happened inside the computer. So the input could be we've got two possible choices. Our output, what happens after the algorithm, is it's going to tell the user what the result was. Was it heads or was it tails? So if we think about what the process might be, the input is there are two possible choices. The output is it tells you the choice that was made. Our process would be a random choice of either heads or tails, 50% chance for each. So half the time it would pick heads, half the time it would pick tails. And that's the process that happens in this algorithm. So the input is here are two possible choices. Process, computer randomly chooses between the two, and then the output it tells us which of those two it chose. Nice and simple. That's our whole input algorithm output. Here's a challenge for you. I would like you to write 5 minutes step-by-step algorithm for a computer to flip a coin. The more detail you can include, the better. I'm going to give you a few clues. You might want to include a list. Think about what might go inside that list. What are the things we're choosing between? Okay. Now, I'll also tell you that you can randomly choose from a list. And that word print has already been used. So if we want to see our output, we want to be able to print it on screen. So there's three clues there. Use a list, random, and then finally that print. Wait, pause the video now and set yourself a 5 minute timer. And I want you to write a step by step algorithm for a computer flipping a coin. Don't worry if it's not in fluent Python. You can represent it however you want. You can do it in bullet points or numbered list or however best suits you. So pause the video now and I'll carry on in a moment. Okay, so our next step, now we've got that algorithm, is we are going to turn it into a flowchart. Some of you might have even decided to represent it as a flowchart already, which is great. We are going to make sure that when we do our flowchart, we use the right symbols. Remember last time we talked about what the symbols mean? Well, really important we get this right. So the start and end of our process, we use these oval-eyed shapes. So we've got our start shape and our end shape. And they're the same shape, and they just show that the start of our process and the end of our algorithm. So algorithm starts here, algorithm ends there. If we have a rectangle, that is called a process. And that is something that happens the same every time. There's no choice, there's no difference. Every time the computer does the same thing. And then finally, we've got the decision diamond. And here is where we might have a choice. The computer might make a different choice each time. So if it was choosing randomly, it might not always come up with the same answer. In fact, it definitely wouldn't always come up with the same answer. So we might want to use this diamond today to represent what happens. It makes a random choice. just to refresh your memories, here is a flowchart. Let's have a look at this flowchart for me. What is it describing? Start with our oval, and we end with our oval, so using the right shapes. We've got these rectangles of the process. We've got a decision here. So hopefully by now you recognise that this flowchart is all about making a cup of tea. Okay, so we've got the start, we make the cup of tea, we ask if they want sugar. If they do want sugar, we're going to yes, add sugar, follow the line that says yes, add sugar, this process, and then serve the tea. If they say no, we go straight to serve the tea and end. This is quite a simple flowchart, but you can see how the different shapes have been used for different aspects, whether it's start or end, a process that's the same every time, or a decision where something different might happen. So here is what we're aiming to do today. I'm asking you to write the individual steps of an algorithm in order. You may have already done that in the 5-minute task. If you stopped the video and did that task, you may have already done bronze. Silver is to use the correct symbols in your flowchart. Right down here, you can see we've got a little table that tells us start and end. We've got our arrows, very important, our arrows. Make sure which way the data is flowing. We've got an input or output. So if you're asking for somebody to type something in, or you're showing something in screen, you should use a parallelogram. We've got our process, something that happens the same every time, and a decision diamond where the computer makes a decision on what happens next. Those are your symbols to use. That's your silver. Gold is to include a user input into your program and flowchart. So if they are typing in their guess, heads or tails, then you're going to include an input. And finally, challenge is in your algorithm, have somewhere where your computer checks whether their guess was the same as the computer's choice. Okay? So we can go from quite a simple heads or tails where it's just flip the coin, choose from the list, randomly show them the answer, to player guesses, computer stores that guess. Then we're going to choose randomly from the list. It's going to show them what it chose, but then it's going to compare their answer, their guess to the computer's choice, see if they match. A bit trickier than it sounds, that one. Have a go. Your vocab for this one is algorithm, instructions, input, and output. I would recommend using Publisher to make your flowchart. Remember, when you make a shape on Publisher, you can right click on it and add text. So your task, if you are not clear, is to make a flowchart for a computer to flip a coin and make its own version of heads and tails. Okay? Remember, computers don't have thumbs or coins. It's all going to be done through code. Best of luck, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with.